Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I recently got into a discussion with some fellow professional anglers, and I made a comment about a change I would make to professional level circuits if I could, and both anglers laughed at me. And I thought, I'm actually 100% serious. And I think there's a lot of viewers out there that probably would agree with me. And that one simple rule change that I would make is to get rid of the pedestal seats, get rid of the butt seats that are in the boat that has made this crazy resurgence. There very, very rarely would I ever see a pedestal seat on the front deck of an angler's boat when I first started fishing tournaments. But since forward-facing sonar has really made this giant impact in the sport, we're seeing, I would say, more pedestal seats than we've ever seen in the sport before, to the point where it's probably over half of the boats out there have people sitting on the butt seats. And from that standpoint, I don't think it gives a good look to the sport. I think there's a lot of things to it actually that really have an impact. And I'm not joking about this. Like, it is something that bothers me. And I'd love to know if the viewers out there feel the same way. You know, I could point to a lot of reasons why I think the pedestal seats should not be allowed. One, from a camera perspective, I think the pedestal seat can get in the way of live footage. So if you've got, the potential where the camera guy could potentially pan to the screens on the front deck but can't do it through the pedestal seat, that hinders the viewing experience. Maybe you've got an angler that's fighting a fish around the boat, so the camera guy jumps to the front deck and he can't position himself properly because of the pedestal seat. Like, there are reasons why, from a viewing aspect, I think that it hurts. But more than anything, not just from a camera perspective, I think it looks really poor on the anglers. Anglers, I feel like, have always had this bad rap that were these, really overweight, unhealthy, beer drinking people, which is generally not the case at the professional level. You've got a lot of people that are in very good shape. It's not easy to stand in a boat for 16 hours in a day. And everyone at the professional level can do it. So from that standpoint, I don't think it looks that great when you see an angler on live TV using the pedestal seat. And in some instances, they're literally sitting on the pedestal seat. It's a function of the forward-facing sonar being utilized, where anglers are just staring at the screen. They want to be closer to the screen. They want to steady themselves. But from a visual aesthetic standpoint, it doesn't look good. It does not look good to the viewers. So I don't personally think that that's something that we want. We should be trying to, elevate the sport. We're already having difficulty trying to convince people that it's a sport. And when you see somebody sitting on a pedestal seat, it doesn't look good, in my opinion. I also would argue that there is a skill set that anglers have, that is being able to utilize their trolling motor well in rough water. I think it's an impressive thing to see an angler standing on the front deck of their boat riding 2, 3, 4 foot waves, in a Great Lakes event. This is not uncommon, but it's a skill set that anglers have to be able to ride those tough waves while being able to utilize their trolling motor effectively. When you introduce a seat, at that point, all of a sudden, it really narrows down that difference in skill to be able to control the trolling motor. You take out the balance aspect. It just really limits the separation that anglers can have based on skill standpoint. So personally, I think that's part of the game. I think anglers should have to be standing on the front deck to control their trolling motor. And if they're in 3-foot waves, they better be able to do it well, because they don't have a pedestal seat to give them balance. And then the last thing I would point to, and some of you will probably argue against this as well, but I do think there's a safety hazard. With all of the stuff that anglers are putting on their front of their boats now, it is becoming harder to see over the front deck. Well, when you throw in a pedestal seat, that's one more item that a driver has to be able to see through when navigating. And in that case, if you've got a bunch of graphs on your front deck and you've got a pedestal seat, it could potentially be a hazard, which could lead to a potential safety issue. So from that standpoint, I say get rid of them. Just don't allow anglers to use them. I realize there are instances where an angler could be injured. And in cases like that, if you've got, if you're in a walking boot or something along those lines, I think you can get an exemption. But I don't think you should just be able to use one just to use one. I'd love to hear from you guys as well. I am not joking when I say this. And it's funny to me because I've brought this up to a whole bunch of people and I just get laughed at. So I'm curious, do you guys agree? Do you think this is something that we should actually make a change? Because to me, I think we should. I really do. So let me know in the comment section, should we or should we not allow the professional level circuit anglers to use pedestal seats? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.